Obviously, like this face and this face of the hinge needs to be flush with whatever it presses up against, because if it's the other way, then it'll like stand off of the uneven piece. So like it, for example, it's hard to see, but the screw holes aren't flush against this face right now. They're like angled down. But if you went this way, they're angled up. The only way to do it is turn around and get it completely flat, or completely flat this way against this face. So that's kind of like leading me to find that this, I'm going to have to probably take a lot of this down and make sure that this back is totally flat and flush with this so that I have something to screw this up against. One thing I find myself doing more and more is using the metric system. It's just weird, like I see why the two have been able to coexist for so long without finding like a clear winner and one just like going away. Like measuring this board right here. So this board is the top for the nesting box, and it measures 102 centimeters and 40 inches. And I'm trying to space these hinges exactly 1/3 in from each side. So I need to break this board up into 3 equal pieces. And so breaking 40 inches, so 40 divided by 3 is like something weird, like 13 point something, 13 and a third, 13.3333. And on the metric, it's 102 centimeters, and 102 divided by 3 is 34. So like, okay, so in centimeters, like I find that that's the case pretty often. Like it'll come out more cleanly a lot of the time. The thing though that I like about standard is like inches and feet. Like for some reason, like that is just like one of those things that's just like put into my brain from like birth. It's like a instinctual measurement, like an inch. Like I can show you an inch like right away, like an inch, and so many things can be broken down cleanly and nicely into a number of inches. Like that's 5 inches, this 3 inches, 2 inches, 6 inches. Also a foot, like a foot is like a pretty nice measurement. Like I don't really have too much stuff that I say, oh, that's 1 meter. Or like that's you know, it's just not as common as that's a foot, or that's 2 feet, or that's 6 inches. So there's benefits and drawbacks to each. Something funny just happened. So I ended up, using the 34, breaking this board up into thirds. I put it up here, and it just so happens that where the hinges would hit is directly where the battens are, and I don't want to do that. I just did this whole, took all this siding off and reinforced it just so I could screw into it. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to come in 6 inches from each side. Got a little door handle, so 51. It's still pretty lightweight, but I can still pick it up and carry it around, but I didn't have anywhere to hold it, so I made these handles for it. I basically designed the dimensions all around these corrugated roof panels just because I knew I didn't want to have to cut them. And so these rafters measure 7 feet long, and these are 8 feet long, so it gives 6 inches of overhang on each side, which is kind of perfect. But I'm probably going to change the rafter spacing because when I went into Lowe's, I shop at Lowe's. I shop at Lowe's, not Home Depot, because I like their color scheme better. But when I went into Lowe's, I only found 2 of these, and I found a 24-inch piece in the center, or just 2 of these 3-footers and then 1 2-footer. And I thought, all right, well, this thing's 7 feet wide. What am I going to do? So basically, I'm just improvising. They're not perfect. They're not even the same exact look, but I think it'll look cool. It'll look more homemade. I've been stepping over this little piece of tin roof or metal roof for a while. It's super annoying. So like what I was saying about a system, like something that coincides directly about that is when people complain like, oh, like I work in half a garage, that's the size of my workshop. I mean, my workshop's big, my workshop's probably the size of a garage, but like it kind of makes sense because the size of your shop determines how efficient your system has to be. So if you have a small shop, you got to have a super efficient system. If you have a bigger shop, you can kind of get away with a little bit sloppier of a system. It just like all kind of goes back to that idea of it's not really the quality of, it's not like the quality of your tools or the quality of your wood or like really it's the entire combined like integrated whole that goes into creating good pieces. So when a good piece comes out of somebody's shop, it's not like, wow, that's like such a great piece. Like all of their stuff kind of looks like that because it's all the product of like the same evolved system. All of these projects, like when I see other people's shops and stuff, like most of them are like pretty established people doing projects and stuff, and like their shops, I'm like, God, like look, they have a place for like everything on the wall, like everything's like perfectly hung up around, and I look at where I do my stuff, and I'm like, God, dude, my stuff is just scattered all over, and by as time has passed, I have gotten way more organized. Like I take the time now because at first I'm like focused on, okay, like I just want to get the project done that I'm working on, like focus on that. But really what it comes down to is it's not so much about like what you're doing in the project, but the entire system around which you build that project. So the system of how you organize your tools, like what steps you take, where you put everything once it's done, like how you assemble everything. And it's actually pretty important because it saves you so much time in the long run, because if you don't have like a system built in, you find yourself like searching around for like a single wrench for 10 minutes, and without this wrench I can't go forward, like I have to have this wrench. So that system's super important. So all of the stuff people make that's like, wow, that's so good, like, damn, how did they make that? It's really not so much a product of, it's a direct product of what they're actually doing to build that object, but it's more the culmination of like lots of years of experience and getting a method, getting like a flow, and having their shop set up so that it's like an entire system, so when they need something, they know exactly where to go, use that thing, put it away. And obviously it's like that's a metaphor for life in general. I mean, a lot of stuff, like for example, I play the guitar sometimes, I'm like, dude, how did this artist make this song? This is so good. Like, how did they come up with these lyrics? How did they put together this sweet riff? Like, how did they do that? Well, what you don't see is them sitting on their couch for weeks and months just like messing around on the guitar or on the piano or whatever, like writing, like coming up with 100 songs that were terrible before they came up with one that was decent. And in today's world, you don't see the system, you don't see the process. All you see is the end product, like the end result. And so that can be really discouraging to people. So, whenever something is not like going your way, something is not easy, when you try to do something that turns out just pathetic and terrible, I think the great thing to remember is what you see out there today on social media and like the news and whatever on media, it's usually the end product of like the culmination of like somebody's entire life, it's all like focused on the superlative, like this is the best of the best that you're seeing right here. And then a lot of times it's built around a really complicated system, and it took a lot of experience and time to get there. This is all monkey grass, or like laripe, I think it's called. Is the technical name, but I really like it. It's like in the south, in North Carolina. The summers are super hot here, and like basically, I mean, people grow grass, but like it only looks good in like fall and spring, and really it's just kind of a futile effort. And I don't really believe in irrigation. Like, if you just don't really do irrigation, something that you can do is just really focus on native species and like stuff that tends to just thrive naturally based on the conditions that exist, rather than trying to kind of like augment the conditions in order to facilitate growth of a plant that doesn't really, that won't grow naturally there. So this laripe, like, awesome, really good ground cover. You can mow it, you don't have to. This kind that we have here just happens to stay short on its own, like, so I am really trying to just facilitate the growth of this laripe, hoping that it just continues to grow outward and cover everything around here. People usually plant like fescue. That's really what the go-to grass seed is here. But I mean, even that doesn't really, I mean, it's hardy, but it can't stand the summer heat here without like constant watering. So this laripe is awesome. You can make it grow. You just buy a bunch of small ones and plant them like every so often around in your yard. It'll look a little spotty and weird for like a couple years, but after 4 years, like, you get this awesome like carpet like ground cover. So kind of cool. Like just this, you could probably plant somewhere, and it would start the growth and spread of this stuff. I'm not trying to dig this too deep right here. I'm just trying to get it so that I like this flat side of the rock, so I'm trying to just seat this boulder in here like this, and this will give it a nice like seat, and it'll hopefully even it out with that. I was thinking I need a level out here. I might get my level and get kind of geeky with it and like actually level this thing out, but I might just eye it. I don't know. It's starting to rain, which doesn't lend itself to geeking out with the level too well, so I'll probably just eye it. But
Can we slide it?
Yeah. Perfecto. Y pues tal vez un poco para este lado. Una pulgada o más. Una pulgada, 2 pulgadas para este lado. Muy bien. Gracias, amigos.
Mucha fuerza. Una pulgadita más para acá.
Una pulgadita. Se ponen los huevos.
Es para la gallina.
Sí.
Muy fino para la gallina.
Sí, yo sé.
Yo pensaba que era para guardar una
Son
herramienta.
gallinas reinas.
Son gallinas gringas.
Sí, exacto. Exacto. Son gringas. Lo que necesito hacer es construir el correo por este lado y la puerta. Entonces se pueden entrar por aquí.